the closer you are to your opponent, the riskier I would say it is to run around to your backhand. Because if you do run around your backhand, hit that forehand, you are creating space. You're giving your opponent more space to hit into. There is a gap that you are purposely creating when you move like that. So if you are closer to your opponent, if their shot coming back to you, goes in that empty area, you could be in trouble. But if you're farther away, you have more time to then come back and reestablish yourself in your original spot.
Look how we made it this far. Haven't we made it, my love? Oh, honey, look how we made it this far. Hasn't the pace been a long bit? Oh, honey, take a look at where we are. You, I owe it to you. I owe it to you.
Okay, we are back with another episode of my show. So we have a lot to talk about. Really quickly, had a successful weekend at PPA Vegas. Got to the semifinals, to the final four teams of both men's doubles and mixed doubles. So super excited about that. There was a couple of things actually that I tried to implement this weekend that I think worked for me. And it's kind of funny because all the teaching and sort of like teaching clinics that I'm doing, not everything from the recreational game translates directly to the pro game, obviously. But I have a feeling it seems like more things that the pros are implementing that are helping could definitely help rec players. And one of the things that I think that was super, super helpful for me this weekend was noticing that you can speed up. If somebody has a one-handed backhand volley or one-handed backhand counter, you can speed up pretty high there. Everybody thinks their speed ups have to be low. Your speed ups don't necessarily have to be low. There's a couple different circumstances where a speed up can actually go high, and it's okay. It's actually helpful in a lot of situations. So the main one would be if somebody only volleys with one hand. If they've got a two-handed counter, high could be a problem. But if they only volley with their one-handed backhand, if you can get it to their backhand, make them reach this way. So usually that would mean that if they're on the right, you make them reach kind of toward the middle. If they're on the left, you make them reach toward the sideline. It actually gets tougher to hit a good backhand volley counter if it is high. As long as it's not, I'm not saying you're lobbing them, but if you're getting it at somewhat of a decent pace, it's definitely, I would say, it's something you should experiment with, because not everybody, of course, is going to work on. It's not going to work on everybody, but there are certain players who really struggle with that shot. And if you're somebody with a one-handed backhand volley, you might struggle with a very high volley there. So try to keep that in mind. It's kind of funny. This game is so new. You just learn something new. If you're paying attention like me, not everybody is, but if you pay attention, you kind of learn new things all the time. Another thing I would say is I've noticed that when players are resetting out of the air, they're not bending their knees enough, not nearly at all. And I mean, if you notice, like when somebody's resetting out of the air in the transition zone, so let's say you're in transition and somebody is, trying to get the ball to your knees, and you're thinking, okay, sorry, minor issue on my end. I was afraid that my arms would confuse some people with my weird tan line, so I had to ask the producer if that was acceptable. You know what? I'm not so self-conscious. No, just kidding. Okay, so also, main thing, when somebody is in transition, right, so that means, actually, I would say this, the closer that they are to the baseline when they are in transition, the more likely they should be to be bending their knees pretty much as possible. I think that the lower that you get, more like, being a shortstop in baseball, I think that helps a lot, gives you a better view of the net, and especially if you're resetting out of the air, I think it's super important, because what I mean by resetting out of the air is that if somebody's got a high volley and they crush it at you and that ball has not bounced yet, the one that you're hitting in transition, if it hasn't bounced yet and you're trying to reset that ball into the kitchen, okay, keep that in mind. That means all of the momentum of that ball is going downward toward the ground. So you have to get low with your legs so that you can push it back up and lift it over the net, because way more often than not, you will be contacting that ball from below the height of the net. So the lower that you are, the easier it is for you to handle that shot. So that's the main thing. Definitely want to talk really quickly about this 007. So I have been hearing, I actually heard I heard a lot about this 007. It was kind of like a legendary, it was like a myth. I didn't know where it came from. guys, Selkirk has been in the works with this thing for quite a while, it seems. And I tried it, and I've played a lot with it, and I can confidently tell you that this is the most powerful paddle while also maintaining great spin that I have ever used since I've picked up a paddle, since I was a pickleball baby. This thing is crazy. I've actually got it here. I just carry it around with me. This isn't an ad. I just carry it around with me for fun, just so I can feel powerful, just to feel strong. This thing is so powerful. It's amazing. It's only 10 millimeters. It's the thinnest paddle I think Selkirk has ever made, and that's a good thing. I think if you've got the ability to control it, it's crazy. It's a rocket ship. Make sure to tell your opponent that you're playing against to maybe wear some glasses, maybe take a step off the line, and don't speed it up at you, because that thing is super powerful. And not just powerful, great paddle, great control. Catherine used it this weekend, and I have never seen her hit the ball harder. Catherine Parenta, that is, number 2 female player in the world. So check it out. Awesome paddle. And yeah, that's all I have to say there. So one thing I think that we should also definitely talk about, which is, another very, very important thing to talk about that I'm seeing is that players' serves, not always are they landing super deep. It seems like, of course, depth is maybe the most important thing. It's definitely top 2. We always talk about power and depth as the top 2. I wouldn't say it's top spin, but I've seen a lot of very, very successful serves landing maybe a little shorter, but being angled off to the side. So this is super important. If you can angle your serve off to the side and it bounces a little shorter, that angle will actually be more aggressive to the sideline. So the shorter it lands, the farther your opponent will actually have to reach. And if they're unwinding their stack, obviously that is even more of a dangerous shot for them to be hitting. So keep that in mind. It's not always about serving the ball hard and deep. I used to think that. So if you comment and say, James, you just said hit it as hard as you can and as deep as you can. I think that's still true most of the time. I think, if you're somebody like me who really has a lot of confidence in a super deep and hard serve, I'm rarely going to be angling the serve off. But I have found that there are ways to get creative and hit very powerful serves. So just keep in mind that you can go wide and short angle with the serve. So another thing to talk about is do not overswing on your forehand volley. Me and my coaching team have been kind of experimenting with the size of the swing, right? So here's an 007. This is maybe a safety hazard. I'm just trying to be funny without how much power it has. So this right here, if you're taking this big swing here, I don't think that's actually helping you get any power on your forehand volley. I like to keep my elbow mostly in front like this. Because you already have a good amount of leverage with your forehand, more leverage and more reach distance to go forward than with your backhand, I don't think you need the big backswing. I also think if somebody's speeding it up to you and it's here and it's not going out, there's enough pace on their ball coming to you that you don't need to create a lot of pace on your own. Somebody... All right, so guys, James Ignatowich here. I'm here to tell you about Selkirk's newest creation, the Vanguard Pro. It's got vibration absorption, thermoform. It's got 4 layers of 12K raw carbon, and I've tried it. It's an awesome paddle. Selkirk's always coming out with the best new stuff, and I've always tried every single new paddle that they've come out with. That's just because I'm addicted to trying new stuff, and Selkirk's always, surprising me with new great paddles. So if you're anything like me, or if you just want to use a great paddle that's got great vibration absorption, extra power, it had great spin and great control. Felt like it had pretty much everything I wanted. Make sure to try it. Vanguard Pro, awesome paddle. Give it a shot. Throws a ball really hard at a wall, it's going to come back fast. And walls aren't swinging, they're just there, right? So you just keep a compact swing, because I found especially on the forehand side, there are more mistakes that happen due to a big backswing than on the backhand side. And you wonder, why would that be? Pretty simple. The mechanics of the backhand are such that the elbow can't really get behind you. You can't, if it's in between your shoulder area, you can't really swing farther back than this. So you're almost protected by your own chest. You really can't take that big of a swing on the backhand, unless you do something crazy, but nobody's doing that. On the forehand, it is very easy to go behind your chest. It's natural to do this on the forehand. It's a lot easier to take a bigger backswing with the forehand by accident. So super important to keep that in mind. On the forehand, you should be more conscious of keeping everything in front, keeping the small swing. Don't overswing on the forehand, because it is easier to make that mistake on the forehand than on the backhand. So we're going to talk about another forehand versus backhand topic, which is, and we're just going through a bunch of different topics. We're not really focusing on one right now. I'm just giving you my thoughts, a little bit of thoughts on everything, but give it a try and practice and let me know what you think. So here's another thing. A lot of players like their forehand a lot more than their backhand. I'm not one of them. I like both, but my backhand is pretty good. So different situation. If I didn't like my backhand, I will tell you the situations where it is more okay to run around your backhand, so to speak, which means, you see it's coming to your backhand, you say, I don't want to hit a backhand, I'm going to run around it, I'm going to hit a forehand. There's a lot of players that do that. Matt Wright, Tyson, Ben Johnson, sometimes players that like their forehand a lot more than their backhand. I'm sure you've done this where you just see it's coming to your left side and say, nope, run it around here, I'm going to hit a forehand. So the number one place where it's totally okay to do this, totally acceptable. If somebody says don't do this, they are wrong. Okay, just going to say it. Doubles, returns. Returning the serve in doubles. If you're playing doubles and you're returning the serve, you can just hit a forehand. You're only covering half of the court. If you have enough speed, a decent amount of ability to just run a couple extra feet and then run to the kitchen, which is up to you, then there is no reason why you shouldn't be. If I never wanted to hit a backhand return ever again in doubles, I don't think I would. I think it is almost always, it's easy enough if you have the movement to cover half of a court with as much time as you would have when you're returning the serve, because you have more time. Somebody's serving it from all the way across the baseline to you. You have a lot of time to say, I see that it's coming to my backhand, but I don't want to hit a backhand. I don't like hitting backhands. I'm going to hit a forehand. So in doubles, if you're returning the serve, always okay to just hit a forehand. If you like your backhand better, then you can just hit backhand. You can kind of choose which side you want to hit the return with most of the time, because the ball is coming from far away. You have enough time to recognize which side it's coming to, if that makes sense. Of course, you need to be mildly athletic to do this, just mildly. So another situation where I think it is, well, let's go with the way a situation where I don't think it's as good of an idea. If you are running around it at the kitchen off of a dink and you want to speed the ball up, do that sparingly, because if you run around it, your partner may not have moved with you. You want to move with your partner, but your partner's not always looking right at you. If you're about to hit the ball and then you move a couple extra steps to your left, if you do that and your partner doesn't recognize it, which is super common at the 5-0 and below levels, you speed that ball up, there's going to be a big area in between you and your partner that is empty. Empty is not good in doubles, right? Especially through the middle. I think more winners happen through the middle than anywhere else in doubles at the recreational level. At the pro level, I don't know. Probably not. So if you're going to speed the ball up at the kitchen line and you see it's coming to your backhand, you want to run around and hit a forehand, you can do it, but maybe tell your partner, hey, if you see me do this, use some communication. Talk to your partner before the game. Maybe you know them. That's another thing. So do that. Let's see. A place where it is totally okay to run around your backhand and hit a forehand is when you're at the kitchen and they are at the baseline. If they're at the baseline and they've hit a drop that is not perfect, kind of high, and you see it's coming to your backhand side and you just have a one-handed backhand, so you're not really going to do anything off the bounce. Very tough to hit good one-handed backhands off of a ball that is bounced. There's a reason that no pros even really try it. You can say, I'm going to run around and hit a forehand here. Totally okay to do that because you have a lot of time. So you'll notice there's a common theme here, and I think this is something we can take away. The closer you are to your opponent, the riskier I would say it is to run around your backhand. Because if you do run around your backhand and hit that forehand, you are creating space. You're giving your opponent more space to hit into. There is a gap that you are purposely creating when you move like that. So if you are closer to your opponent, if their reply, their shot coming back to you, goes in that empty area, you could be in trouble. But if you're farther away, you have more time to then come back and reestablish yourself in your original spot. So just to clarify, I know there's a lot of people that say, don't run around your backhand. I know you like your forehand, but you got to hit the backhand. You don't want to create all that space. That's not true. And that should mean a lot coming from me because I am a pro and I never do it. I never run around my backhand. And I'm still telling you, it's okay to do it. Just do it. The farther away you are from your opponent, the more likely you should be to do it. Which again, brings me to another thing. If somebody's about to speed the ball up to you and you're, 14 feet away, right at the kitchen line, very close to the other person, I wouldn't run and slide to hit too many forehands there. It's risky. It's just a very, very tough thing to do. I would rather kind of stay put and hit the backhand. You can cover more space with your backhand and your forehand, obviously, which is, again, the same thing that you're closer to your opponent, not a good idea. And then if you're getting a third shot, right, so you've hit the serve, they hit the return to you, pretty far away from your opponent, okay, you can run around your backhand and hit a forehand. So try to experiment with that. Tell me what you think. And yeah, it's okay to have a better forehand than a backhand. Most people do, and moving around your backhand hit forehand is totally okay. That's all we got. I don't have any interesting things about my life to share. Actually, I was just in Vegas. I do, but I can't share those. I'm just kidding. Okay, that's all I got.